What is going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to use and set up the GPT dialogue system, which is a next-gen dialogue system using generative AI. It also has an offline fallback, so if you run out of credits or your players are on like a Steam Deck or something on the bus, they'll still be able to play. So with that said, what I'm going to do with this example is I'm going to show you how to install this plugin. I'm going to go through each one of these little demos. We've got text, voice generation, smart NPCs, algorithmic or smart dialogue selection, how to integrate it with a quest system, and then how to set up talking NPCs, like they can have conversations and stuff that's also history aware, so they know what they're saying to each other. So I'm going to show you how to do all of that. And but first, let's go ahead and show you how to get this actually installed and set up. So the first thing you want to do is you won't have this map here, so you want to go to Edit, Plugins, and then you'll see Komodo Bit Games, and click this GPT dialogue system. Click Enable it. You'll have to install this through Fab and the Epic Games Launcher if you want a guide on how to do that. You can go to the written documentation. I'm not going to show that process here. Okay, so once you have that, you need to create an account because this uses a backend. It needs to talk to servers and databases and all that stuff for the generation. So your account won't be used for marketing or anything like that. It's just for the backend code. So to create one, go to GPT Dialog System, click Create an Account, and then each person will get 50 free credits. I'm already logged in, so it's probably not going to let me create an account, I believe, but it'll tell you your credit balance when you log in. So just like, use a real email here because it's used for like receipts and customer support and everything like that. So definitely use a real email. So do not use this one, but you just type it in. Make sure your password is at least 6 characters long because you'll get an error if you don't. And then click Create an Account. I don't know if this will work or not. Yeah, I'm already logged in. So you'll create an account and you'll see if it doesn't. If you get an error, click it again, and it should go through. Sometimes the servers aren't spun up at the time, and so it will have an error the first time. Same with login. If you have an account and you're using this between projects, and you have like a big credit balance like this, you can just share the account between projects. So you don't need to have different accounts per project. So with that said, once you have that, you'll have 50 free credits. It'll say 50 here once you create an account, and the account is persisted across sessions. So if you close the editor and then come back in, you'll still be logged in. You won't need to like log in every time. And that's basically it for login, creating an account. You'll have 50 free credits. You can test this or integrate with your own project. I'm gonna have a video also going through each one of these and like showing them in just a gameplay perspective, so you can see how they work on YouTube without having to use credits. So yeah. So with that said, the next thing I want to go over is the credits, because I keep bringing that up. This uses API call pricing. So in order to do that, you need to have credits on your account, GPT credits. And there's a calculator. If you go to the top and you go to purchase GPT credits, you'll see this calculator here. You can just type in like how many players you have. So like let's say you have 100 players a month, right? So that's a pretty good game. That's probably like 100 reviews on Steam, 200 reviews, something like that. So that's a pretty successful game. And each player probably does, let's just say 55 text generations, okay? You'll use 5,500 credits a month. Now, you can buy a pack like the 7,500, either recurring monthly if you have consistent players, or if you're doing like play tests or like a launch window or something, and you expect most players to be up front, you can just do it here. And then if they don't, if they're not there, then, or I'm sorry, if the credits are not, like for example, in this case we need 5,500. You don't have to buy the 7,500 because that'll be excess. What you can do is you can buy like two 2,500s and one 500, and that'll probably be cheaper. And it'll be exactly what you need. Alternatively, if it's not a main selling point of your game, you can have just have some users use the fallback option, which I'll explain later in this video. And if you go offline, So like if you're ending the life of your game, or you don't want to do any more updates or support it anymore or whatever, you can mandate the global offline fallback. You can also set this up with DLC. So if you have a free-to-play game and you want all free users to use the offline fallback, and you want all paying users to use the generative AI, you can do that. There's a guide on my documentation on how to do that. I'm not going to go over that in this video, but if you go to the written documentation, which you can find up here, open documentation, you'll see that. The next thing is, if you buy a subscription, so you want to see your receipts, you can go to the Stripe customer portal. It just opens up in your web browser. You just type in the email you use for your account. They'll link you to the customer portal. And this is what I mean by don't use a fake email, because you won't be able to get receipts and stuff like that. So definitely use a real one. And then there's also a webhook integration with Discord, where you can get reminded when a player opens the game and you're under 100 credits. A reminder can be sent to Discord once every hour. All you gotta do is, I'm not gonna go over this in the video, but in the written documentation, again, this is covered there. You add a webhook to a Discord channel and then click assign webhook, and that's it. It'll automatically work. So this is fully managed, so most of the stuff you don't need to set up backend or anything like that. And that's basically it for the setup. So once you install it, create the account, and then, if you want to buy credits, you can do that there. If you want to set up the Discord reminder, you can do that there. And if you want to get the documentation, you do that there. If you want to cancel a subscription or view invoices, you go there. And that's basically it. Everyone gets 50 free credits when you sign up. So let's go ahead and get started into the example. So if we click play, okay, and I put a disclaimer here that this does use credits. Text is 1 credit and voice is 3 credits. So that's why I'm going to have a YouTube video, so you can watch all of this without, having to pay for it. Give me a second. I got my speaker on. I'm going to turn it off. Okay. So this is the text generation. I'm not caching it, so I recommend caching this on begin play if this is in a game. But if you walk up to this, there's a collider, and it will generate a new text every time. And so, as you can see, we're talking to like some sort of like entity. It says character talking as an invisible entity. So he's like talking to me about entity stuff, like extra dimensional, all that kind of stuff. If we do it again, it gets a different text. If we do it again, another text, and so forth. So basically, you can get a consistent story or consistent dialogue context, while also having everyone have their own dialogue and story that's unique to their game. And that's one of the benefits of this, is if you notice, every single one of these texts is basically the same message, but they're worded differently. And then if we go to the voice generation dialogue, this one's pretty cool. This lets you take the text over here, which is going to be over here as well, and then generate voice acting from it. There are 11 different voices in this demo. I think I used 3 different voices. So just keep that in mind. So you'll be able to hear this. I don't have my speakers on, so I can't hear it. But whenever it finishes...
So, Manny, what brings you to disturb my slumber in this bizarre simulation of your reality?
So that was the voice generation. And if we do it again, he'll say something new. But I believe I set up conversational history. So if we go here, he'll say something different. And he's aware of the game
Manny, your presence here raises a multitude of questions. Did you ever wonder if your reality is merely a facade in this grand simulation we find ourselves in?
Stuff like that, and that we're in some like showroom. So he may talk about that if we do it again.
Manny, have you ever paused to consider that your every move is dictated by a code written in the endless expanse of my consciousness?
He knows we're in a simulation. So I want to try doing it again until he gets the U on the walls.
Manny, do you ever ponder the irony that your very existence flickers on the edge of my vast consciousness, mere pixels in a game that transcends your understanding?
Oh, and it supports attenuation, so you can like walk away. So like, If I'm gonna get him to talk about the use on the walls.
Manny, have you ever contemplated that your every action is simply a blip in the code of a vast simulation?
As you can see, if we walk away, it gets quieter, and that's because we can set up attenuation for this. So you can have this like actual dialogue in world space. So the next thing I want to talk about is smart NPCs. So I'm going to go through each one of these and how they work after this. But smart NPCs, what they do is they basically, you can send them like what the player says through the conversation, which is exampled over there. In this case, she's just talking about like just kind of placating Manny a little bit and talking about like the showroom and stuff like that. So she's conversational aware. So in this case, if you see in the corner, that's her state.
Hey Manny, with your silver shine and adventurous spirit, how about we make the showroom our runway for a fashion revolution?
So basically you apply tags to the character and dialogue tags, and then it picks the best dialogue context to generate based on those tags. So you could have a state for ragdolls, if they're angry, if they've been punched, if they're happy, if they're drunk, you know, things like that. Things you might see in like GTA or Red Dead. And then they'll generate based on that stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to do this one more time, and we'll see her talk.
Hey Manny, with your dazzling silver skin and that adventurous spark, let's turn this showroom into the hottest catwalk in town.
Because it does have to generate on the server and then send it back to you. So one thing I recommend doing is using caching. You can either do that on begin play, or whenever the text generates, you can go ahead and generate the voice at the same time and then cache it and then play it whenever the text is done, and that'll be faster, so there won't be like a little delay there. And then this is the same thing but with the entity. So if we go to smart dialogue selection, he will talk.
Manny, your existence has irritated a force beyond your comprehension. Either harass Quinn or witness the annihilation of this entire universe.
He's aware of the game, like the context. Like he's aware that there are people, that Quinn is over there. He's aware who I am and stuff like that. So that's the benefit of this dialogue system. And then
your trivial existence has dragged me from the depths of the cosmos, Manny. Either unleash chaos upon Quinn or prepare to witness the very fabric of your universe unravel before your non-existent eyes.
This plugin is free, so when you install it, you can test these further. The next thing is the quest integration. I'll go over this. It's pretty simple, but it uses a progress integer. So whatever your quest system is, as long as they support using actor components and getting a integer or a name or a string for the quest progress, you can use this. So it should work with like the majority of fab quest integrations or custom quest integrations you make. And this one's using integers. So if we go up to it 4 times, the first time he'll talk about how the quest is going to start.
Manny, as you step back onto the platform, a thrilling journey awaits. For this is where your quest truly begins, in a world woven from the fabric of possibilities.
And then the next time we go up to it, he'll talk about how it's the first part of the quest.
Congratulations, Manny. You've stumbled upon the first spark of your quest, a shimmering clue left behind by the cosmos. And I can't wait to see how you'll navigate this bizarre tapestry.
And then if we go up again, he'll talk about how it's the second part of the quest, and then the third at the next time.
Ah, Manny, it seems you've stumbled upon the second act of your digital destiny. A dance of ones and zeros awaits you, and the exit, simply a step away, beckons with the thrill of what transcends your understanding.
All right, now if we go on, he'll talk about the third part of the quest.
Ah, Manny, as you stand before these U logos, remember that every ending is merely a doorway to a new adventure. And you, my friend, are destined to step boldly through it.
And as you can see, he was aware of the walls and like the logos on the walls and stuff, which is pretty cool. I'll show you how to set that up in the video. And And if we do it again, he will talk about.
Why do you linger here, Manny, when the next chapter awaits beyond this fading script?
So, and if we do this again, he'll generate something else about why we're still here.
Why do you linger, Manny, when your next adventure
And
awaits
then the final
beyond this
thing is the two
pixelated
talking
realm?
NPCs. Basically, once we go up to them, they'll start talking. And they'll talk to each other, whether it's about the weather, the entity, the room, some small talk relating to their situation. And they'll just talk to each other. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It'll take a second to generate.
Isn't it wild to think that somewhere among all these displays, a powerful entity might just be watching us? I know, right? Just imagine if that entity decided to make a surprise appearance during a product launch. I wonder if the entity would be impressed with our latest upgrades or just roll its eyes at our quirks. I'd hope it's more impressed than annoyed. After all, we do our best to stay ahead of the game. Well, as long as it doesn't start critiquing my paint job, I think we'll be just fine.
Okay.
I bet that entity
So we'll
has
let her
seen some
finish.
pretty wild tech over the years. I hope we're up to par.
Okay, so that's basically the demo I made for this. As you can see, there's a lot of use cases for this. It supports algorithmic, like tag-based dialogue selection, which is used in games like Red Dead, GTA, probably Bethesda games. There's quest integration for most fab or internal quest systems that you may have, as long as they use integers or names or strings for the quest progress. There's 2 talking NPCs that you can like set up conversations with, and you could modify this demo to have the player talk with the NPC as well. And all the code is available for these. And then there's just a single smart NPC. So this is like if you were to like walk up to one and you wanted them to say something, you would do that. The voice generation and the text generation. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and show you how these are set up. So I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. If you need a more in-depth guide, I recommend going to the written documentation here, which is you can find in the editor. Okay, so this is I put all 3 of these in a single voice, a single actor. So all of these are in a single actor called text voice generator. Okay, and if we look at this, basically what it is on overlap of the box glider, we check if we're getting the player character. There's cheaper in casting, so I recommend doing it this way, save memory. And then we check if we're using algorithmic dialogue. And then if we are, we call one of these functions. Now, before we get into these functions, I want to show you the component part of it and how they get... Actually, I'll go ahead and show you this first, because it'll make more sense with the component if it makes more sense. Okay, so we check if the voice line's playing. Pretty simple to prevent like spamming the voices. And then we use the component over here that we add, AC GPT dialogue, right here. And we get the manual dialogue context. This is a node to get the context for it, which you can see over here. Okay, so over here, this is all the context. We've got the speaker character emotions, the speaker character personality traits. He's highly intelligent. He could break the 4th wall, you know, that kind of stuff. We've got additional notes about it. We've got a tone. We've got a writing style set to Marvel and the MCU. I just use them because they're fairly well known. And they do pretty well. I feel like it turns out pretty well. And then we generate the dialogue prompt, and then we feed that into this generate text dialogue async node. This async node returns a success and a failure execution pin along with an immediate execution pin. On success is the generative AI. On failure will be the fallback option, which you can see right here, fallback dialogue. I recommend having a fallback dialogue in every case. It can't generate voice, but it will have text for you that works offline. So if they don't have internet, if you don't have credits, or if just for some reason there's server issues with the back end, it'll use this. And that way your game continues to work. And I'm setting that into a world space text widget. And then it'll return an error message. I recommend printing that to the log just in case just in case a player has issues, you can log it, and you can get a specific error code for it. And then we store the dialogue history, which is a node, and what that does is it makes it where every time we generate, it inputs the output from this. So if like, let's say he's talking about how he wants to escape this reality or whatever, well, the next time he talks, he'll mention that he wanted to escape the reality and maybe expand upon it instead of doing something completely new. So yeah, and I'm using this in pretty much most of the demos. And then what we do is we generate the voice dialogue async. The actor for this, I believe, is Balad. There's 11 different voice actors you can use, and I'll add more as OpenAI adds more. You can also add attenuation assets. So you can make it like sound in a specific location in the world, so it's not just always playing everywhere in the map, and that's pretty useful. And then just off of that, it just generates a voice line, a sound cue object, and you play sound at location or play sound 2D, and that's basically it. This stuff over here is just to make sure it doesn't spam the sound if you go through the box collider repeatedly, because otherwise that'll create overlapped audio. And that's basically it for like how this is basically it for all you need to like set up text and voice generation. It's really simple. The main thing that's going to change between the types of generation is this stuff right here. So this is the manual, and this is the algorithmic or the smart dialogue selection. So if we look here, we have different categories for how to integrate. So we have manual, which is like great for like one-offs. So like if you want an NPC to like talk about the weather every time, manual would probably be best for that. Okay. If you want to integrate with quest system, then you use this. So in this case, I'm using dialogue integer states. So 1 represents quest progress 1, 2 represents quest progress 2, and 3, and then you just, I'll show you how to feed those in the quest example. You just fill this out, and then the algorithmic dialogue is what we're doing here. So what this is we assign tags to this actor or character. And so, for example, we have angry, sad, confused, intrigued, and dying. I set a random one on a for loop that allows 2 entries, and then I clear it on the beginning, and then I basically just find the best dialogue algorithmically through this node, and then I plug it into the prompt and the fallback dialogue. And that's basically it. That's basically the entire workflow for this. It's really simple. It shouldn't take you too long to set up in your own project. The longest thing that's going to take to set up is filling out these dialogue contexts. So I mean that's pretty much it. The next thing I'm going to show you is the quest, because the final thing is the quest and the smart NPCs. So this is so in this one we're using manual and best dialogue. I'm going to go to the quest integration. So if we go here, this, okay. So I have a manager class, and all it does is just store an integer with the current quest progress, and then on overlap I generate the quest. So I check if the quest manager is active or like valid, and then I get the quest progress, and I use the get integer text dialogue state. If your quest system uses f names or strings, you will use the what is it called? Oh, the dialogue string states, not the integer. So there's a node for that. It's called get dialogue string. Yeah, get string text dialogue state. You just plug in your quest progress or quest name right here, and it'll get it. And then you plug it into the generate dialogue prompt. So you let it get off the component. Generate dialog prompt, plug this in the dialog context, and you got it. And that's basically it. That is the Quest integration. Everything else is the same as the rest. Oh, and then also for the example, I wanted to increment the Quest as long as it doesn't go above 4 on the overlap, so I update the Quest progress. You'll probably do that on successful. So that's basically it for the Quest integration. The smart NPCs, I'm going to show you how to do that. It's basically the same thing, but I just set up an interface and a manager. So I have a manager here that whenever it has a box slider on it, and whenever the box slider begins, I set allow talking to be true, which is a boolean I made, and I call a delegate or an event dispatcher called start talking, and then when they end overlap, I tell them to stop talking through setting that boolean. And in the character, which is the smart NPC talker, I have a skeletal mesh and the AC GPT dialog context component. On here, I'm using manual dialogue. So on begin play, I get the manager, right here, and then I have a boolean that says if they're first talker, because in this case, I need to check who's first talking, and then I get the bind event to start talking. Call that on this function here, trigger dialogue. This calls another function called start dialogue talking, and what it does is it takes in a input of generated dialogue from the other interface, which comes from, so basically to visualize it, if this person is talking, then this person will receive the interface. If this person is talking, this person will receive the interface. And it's kind of just back and forth. And then I store the dialogue history. I generate it from a manual dialogue context. I store their history so they have conversational awareness. And then I pick a voice for them so they don't have the same voice. I'm using between Aloy and Shimmer. And this is a instance editable integer, so I just set it here, 0 and 1. Okay. And then we generate the voice dialogue. Once the dialogue is complete, we do a sphere trace, and then we send the interface to the next, to the other character, and that's basically it. That is basically it. The system is made to be really easy to use. If this video was too fast-paced and you need a little more slow time on going through it, I recommend checking out the written documentation. It has tons of images, tons of guides. And again, you can find it by just going here, and then I have not set it up yet, so let's go into Stripe. But whenever you get this plug-in, if you click this, it'll go to the Gitbook documentation. So with that said, have a good one. I will upload a full walkthrough of me just going through the showroom as well. Thank you. Bye.